Welcome to Surfside Stories. I am so proud and so honored today to have a good friend of mine right here in the studio, a man who has been a icon in the beach music for a number of years now. And I became friends with him just a couple of years ago, and I found out a lot about him. But what I don't know, I know who you are now. By the way, this is Mr. Doug Manning, and you'll find out what he's done long. But how did you get started in music? Well, what was the first time you sang? What was the first time you played an instrument? Tell me about your progression through the world of music and getting into the beach music. And you take it and you run with it, brother.
Well, first thing, let's get this out of the way. Icon is probably a stretch, but that's
According to Jay Kinlaw, you're the heavyweight.
well, you're too kind, and he is too. Good gracious, where did I start? I guess I'd take you all the way back to when I was about 6 years old. My dad played a little bit of guitar, not much, but he taught me my first three chords on a guitar.
G, C, and
D7. G, C, and D7, and learned how to play a little brown jug.
Oh, wow.
And and that kind of got me started. And then both of my sisters took piano lessons in school, and we actually had a piano in the house. And so I'd go over and sit down on the piano, and I could play by ear. I didn't really know the notes, but once I kind of heard the pitches, then I could start to pick things out. And so started
with piano your first or guitar first?
Well, I think back on it now. I'm not sure if I tinkled on the piano. Maybe that could have been first.
Maybe
the first, and that was more just individual note kind of a thing, just picking out the melody and things like that. Learning to play chords so that I could actually play a song was guitar first.
But you play by ear then?
Oh yeah. Okay. Those little, you put sheet music in front of me, which is a funny story, but
another story.
It wouldn't do me much good. I can't read music.
Well, I found a lot of better artists that way. If they play what they feel instead of what they see.
Yeah, in hindsight, I wish I had learned music theory. I do. But if I had to choose one or the other, you get to play by ear, or you can only play with sheet music. I'll take the ear. Yeah, I'll take that.
Anyway, let's move along here.
So I started playing a little guitar, and then I'll fast forward to I was in about the 6th grade, and there were several of us guys around the neighborhood that all played guitar. And so we got together and started playing, learning some songs, wanted to form a band, Wow. And so we had literally, so I'll go ahead and mention names. Had a guy named Keith Houston. You might know that name.
I've heard that name.
And a guy named Mike Gold.
Yeah.
A guy named Johnny Bird.
Okay.
And myself. We all played guitar, so we would gather most of the time in those days up at Keith's house, and we would practice and learn to play songs. And of course, with that many guitars, we decided, well, somebody's got to play bass.
Okay.
And so literally, it was at that time. And it's funny, like the Mighty Saints of Soul, who I know you're familiar with.
Oh, yes.
Johnny Bird, later on, all those guys eventually, Avengers, Band of Oz, and then with the Mighty Saints of Soul, a lot of those guys are, had been in the Band of Oz. But Johnny Bird was, he switched, and he made the switch, and his dad went and bought him a bass amp, and he switched to bass guitar, brought in a couple guys. Carl Edwards played keyboard.
Yeah.
Tommy Edwards, his brother, played drums. And so that's when they picked the name the Avengers. But that was in about the 6th grade, and our family, my dad got another job in Whiteville, and so we moved away and moved to Whiteville, North Carolina, which is obviously not that far from here, about 45 minutes from North Myrtle Beach. And so I grew up during the summers and everything, coming to North Myrtle Beach. So been coming down here for many, many years.
So you've been exposed to the beach music world since a very young age. Then.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the things that we did, even way back then in the sixth grade, the songs that we played, there was, I don't know if we really talked as much about it being quote unquote beach music, but certainly a lot of it was. And so got to Whiteville, ended up starting another little band there. We had that band literally. Moved there, so started the seventh grade. We had a little band. In fact, one of the guys' dads had a car dealership, and he sponsored a gospel show that came on pretty late at night. And so his dad arranged for us to get on TV.
Make an appearance.
We made an appearance on the gospel show, not playing gospel.
Okay.
And
so what do you play? I got to hear this. If you were playing gospel,
well,
give me a clue.
my guess is if I think back then, I'm trying to think what we probably, and we may have played like My Girl or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
And so immediately, moving to Whiteville back into to playing music, and we had that little band all through high school. It's called the Sound Masters.
Okay.
And
this was in Whiteville now.
It was in Whiteville. And then when we got to high school, we didn't like that name. We didn't think that was a very cool name for a band. And so we changed the name of the band to Infinity. And I have a funny story for you on that.
Oh, I'll hear it.
So Infinity, we're in high school. We actually had a pretty good little band. And so we get booked to play this club in Riceville Beach called the Crest.
Okay.
And back in this would have probably been in like 1973 or something like that.
Okay.
We were all still in high school. And we get booked to play there. They had all the elite bands that traveled around that played there. You had to be really good to get booked at the Crest. And so it was a pretty big honor for us to get booked there. Well, then, right before we were supposed to play, like a week before we were supposed to play, our drummer got a chance to go overseas to study some one of those trips where an exchange thing, he goes over there and studies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So he's leaving. So all of a sudden, we don't have a drummer. So I ended up.
You become a drummer.
I ended up playing drums. Well, I can play as a lot of musicians can. I'm a jack of all trades, master of nothing. I can play a little bit of a lot of instruments. I'm just not very good at any of them. But
I'll beg to differ with you there.
But I played drums, and so we finished the first set. And we're all 16 years old. And this guy comes up. He was probably 25 or something. He's talking to us. He says, and I happen to overhear him. He's talking to one of the guys. He said, you guys are pretty good. He said, your drummer could use a little bit of work. and they said, well, he's not really the drummer. He actually plays guitar, but our drummer is not here. So he's filling in. It's the first time he's ever played drums with the band. And I heard it, and I said, so you play drums? He said, yeah. And I said, so are you a good drummer? He said, oh, yeah. And so the second set, he played.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we were like, wow, because he was good.
Yeah.
And so then we said, I think we're going to do the, who was it, the Doobie Brothers thing or whatever, where they had two drummers. Yeah. So we said, we don't want to kick Jimmy out when he comes back, but he's going to have company.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we so we had two drummers, and I tell you, that was a good little high school band.
Now, how big was the band at that time? You had two drummers, how many guitars?
We had two drummers.
You were doing, somebody was doing bass, Bird?
No, not in this band. So in this band,
Okay.
we had a guy. His name was Frank Blake.
Okay.
Played bass. Jimmy Utley was the original drummer. Bobo Smith, my good buddy who lives out in Nashville, played keyboards.
Yeah, okay.
And a guy named Bub Hammonds was our main lead vocalist.
Okay.
And his brother Jerry also sang with us some too. So we had a pretty good sized little band. We got booked in high school, got booked to play in Ocean Drive. I believe it's the same club where Fat Harold's is now. It was called the Hoppin' Hutch. And it was a college bar during this. I mean, it was just full of college kids, and we were still in high school. We played there one weekend, and we played all kinds of music. We played beach music. We played some rock and roll. We played a little bit of everything. And the club manager there absolutely loved us and offered us the house gig for the summer, just to play every weekend, because he liked us because we were cheap.
Yeah.
And we played all kinds of music.
Cheap and good.
Cheap and good. And we were the same age as all the college kids, so they related to us well. And you know, during the summer, it's pretty much a different clientele every week. So you can get away with having a house band because it's not the same audience every week. And I was the only guy in the band that wanted to do it. The rest of them were like, no, we want to play all the other clubs. And I'm like, we might not get booked at all those other clubs. And so couldn't talk them into it. And we've talked about that since then. They've all said, we wish we'd have done that. But so we didn't play there again. We got booked one more time that summer to play a club down here at North Maryland. We played Fat Cat's Lounge, which was a biker bar.
Yeah.
And I think they were just about this close to throwing stuff at us because they didn't care anything about the beach music stuff that we did. And you can't play but One Way Out, you know, by the Allman Brothers more than twice.
Yeah.
And so we just didn't have the repertoire for them. But so that was in high school, and then, you know, moved on.
Good question.
All right.
Playing places like that, did that not expand your ability to walk into any kind of club? Playing a place like that once in a while?
Well, in what way?
To expand, going into like the biker bar.
Yeah.
It's totally out of context or out of where you should be. Did that not help you expand?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, they didn't like us. And I don't think I've ever played in a band where we played a biker bar again.
Good to know.
I never was a big time, heavy rock and roll fan.
Yeah.
I probably like some of the more commercial. I mean, I did like the Doobie Brothers and people like that, but I mean, back in those days, I mean, we did some James Gang and the Uriah Heep, and we did a pretty big variety of music, and some of the songs that we did like that, I didn't particularly care for them, but you play them anyway.
Well, you know, it's the perfect time for me to ask you a question.
All right.
What is beach music?
Well, to me, it's pretty simple. It's anything you can shag dance to for the most part. Now, there's some songs that come along every now and then that still have a certain feel. You like the song, and maybe not the greatest shag song, but for the most part. And I grew up coming to the Spanish Galleon in the early days, and you walk in, and so. You know, they took a lot of music from certainly outside of this area. You know, a lot of the original music probably had more even gospel and certainly R&B kind of stuff. I remember at a Beach Music Award show in 1988. I think it was what was his name? Billy Davis and Marilyn McCoo. And Billy Davis was on stage, and he said, he got up to do his song. He said, I found out that I've got the number 5 song on the beach music chart. I don't even know what beach music is. and so, you know, a lot of those guys didn't. But I mean, I was a Four Tops guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Levi Stubbs. If I could trade my voice and sing like anybody, it'd be Levi. And so I was more the Temptations, the Four Tops, Al Green, Marvin Gaye, all those kind. I mean, I was just an R&B fan, and pretty much all of the stuff they did was accepted in the beach music world. So
I got
for
to
me,
interrupt you a second here.
All right.
I got to tell you this. One of your good friends has told me several times, and I agree with him, that the older you got, the better your voice has got. It's better now than it was years ago. I'd have to agree with him. I went back and listened to it. I listen to it now. I saw you live on stage down at Topsail Island, and your voice is really good.
Well, thank you. That's certainly a compliment. Maybe what's happened is it's gotten lower.
Could be.
It's gotten lower, but you know, I get to I didn't play. I played by myself, just playing acoustic guitar and singing 2 years that I went to school for electronics engineering on the weekends.
Where'd you go to school?
Fayetteville Technical Institute.
Okay.
And so I didn't really play much music then. I wasn't in any kind of a band, but I would just play acoustic guitar and sing in a restaurant. Finished school, took a job with a company called Simplex. I was a fire alarm systems tech back in those days in 1976. And in 77, they transferred me to Raleigh.
Okay.
And so I get to Raleigh. Well, actually, while I was in Fayetteville, I had one of my buddies that I played in that band in high school. Let me back this up. I met a guy named Bud Hanson in Fayetteville when I was there, and he played a little music, and you know, we just sat around and played. We didn't play out or anything. But when I moved to Raleigh, I reconnected with Bud, and then there was a friend of mine. His name was Bill Brooks. He was living in Raleigh, and he had been in that band. I didn't mention his name a while ago when I talked about Infinity. He was the other guitar player, and he was in Raleigh. So Bill and Buddy and I started doing this little thing, kind of acoustic like, and we would do Eagles in America and things like that.
Oh wow, yeah.
And played down on Hillsborough Street and a couple of the little clubs in Raleigh on Hillsborough Street. This would have been in 77. And then Buddy said, you know, he said, we need a drum. And so Buddy was playing bass at that time. Bill played guitar and I played guitar. Buddy said, I've got this friend of mine that is going to school at Carolina. And he's a good singer and he plays drums. His name was Gary Dennis.
Really? Oh wow!
And
I don't know that name.
and so Buddy brought Gary in, and so we had a drum, and then we were like,
What was the name of this group?
It was called Carolina Trace.
Okay, I've heard Gary speak of that group. Yeah,
Carolina Trace, and so we started practicing and playing, you know, and we're like, well, we need to expand this. And I think in those days, I thought about this the other day. I was trying to figure out how we got up with these two guys. I can't remember the connection. We may have, back in those days, a lot of times you would leave a little ad on the bulletin board at a music store or something. Yep. But anyway, we had these two guys that came in that played trumpet and sax. And so now we had horns and everything, and we were practicing, trying to get our stuff together. We were trying to get our band booked, and we just weren't having a lot of success. And most all of the bands back then, so the Band of Oz in those days, the Embers, the Catalinas, all these different bands, they had floor shows. And so they do a couple of dance sets, and then they come out and do a floor show.
Oh, I remember those days.
Well, we really couldn't do that, and that was almost, you just about had to have that in those days to really get booked for the good stuff. And so during this time, you know, Gary was in a vocal quartet, and so you've heard some of this story. I'm sure I saw Gary's podcast with you.
Yes.
He was doing the quartet thing, And so I had started every now and then. I'd go over and play guitar with them just so they had some accompaniment because everything they did was just a cappella. And then one night, Gary and I went out in Raleigh, went out to see this band called Spontanes, and a club called PJC's in Raleigh. And so they did their first couple sets, and then time for the show. And when they came out to do their show, they came out and did this 50s, like a Sha Na Na kind of a thing, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And Gary and I, we're looking at each other, and it was like a light bulb moment. We were like, we're not getting booked anywhere. And our horn players, I'll just leave it at, they were just a little bit different than the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so Gary and I were like, what if we kind of part with the horn players, and we'll bring the other guys from the quartet into Carolina Trace, and then we'll be able to do a floor show because they did all this 50s doo-wop harmonies and all those things, right?
Oh, okay.
So we're like, we can do a floor show immediately. We'll do some dance sets and everything. They'll help our vocals, on the dance sets and all. One of the guys that was in the quartet played a little bit of keyboard.
Okay.
And so in our little band, we didn't have any at all. He didn't play much, but he could play some basic, chord stuff. So it helped fill it out a little bit. But the big thing was when it came time to do the floor show, we could do that. And that was the ticket for North Tower. The minute that
that is where
and actually the name changed. So when those guys first came over, there's this. I've listened through the years. There are different people told the story of how the quartet became a band.
Yeah,
it didn't happen that way. There was already a band, and the band would have probably stayed Carolina Trace, except the first job we booked ended up being in Chapel Hill. And certainly Carolina Trace didn't have any name recognition.
Yeah.
And the North Tower Quartet did. And so we thought,
you drop quartet.
Maybe we should drop the Carolina Trace name and take the North Tower name, thinking it was going to help get some more people in the club.
Okay.
So we pretty much made a last minute decision to change the band name to North Tower.
And it's still using that name today.
Yeah, and we actually a number of years after that started to we never felt like North Tower.
Yeah.
Never felt like that was like a cool quote unquote band name. Which came from the Oldies Tower. They lived in the North Tower of Oldies Dorm. Yeah. I'm sorry, couldn't get it out.
Oh, yeah, that's
North Tower of Oldies Dorm in Chapel Hill. Didn't all that many people show up to see us that night in Chapel Hill, so I don't know that we probably could have been Carolina Trace and had just as many people here. But it's really funny. So then I went down, there was a club, and this is a very funny story because this weekend, when I walked into the OD Resort, one of the guys that came up and greeted me was a guy named Tony Walters.
Okay.
Well, Tony it's just funny that he was here, and now I'm telling this story.
Yeah.
He and a guy named Opie, they were the managers at this club on Hillsborough Street called Crazy Zach's.
I remember that.
They had one down here in North Myrtle Beach later, but originally it was in Raleigh.
My daughter went to Carolina, so
okay.
I'm familiar with the area.
So Crazy Zach's down on Hillsborough Street, and that was the place. And I went in and literally begged Tony and Opie to book us in there, and this is where, the Catalinas played. In fact, the first time I ever saw the Catalinas was at Crazy Zach's, and Earl Dawkins had just replaced Bo Strong's, and I was just, blown away by that band. But I went in and I begged these guys to let us play. I think they paid us $50. I mean, they didn't pay us anything. It was just like, please let us play. I said, the college kids are going to love this band, and they're going to love our floor show. So they finally relented and let us play. And we went in and played. And they absolutely loved it, mainly because of the floor show. We probably didn't have musically the best band by any stretch. There were bands that had better musicians than.
But you had a good show.
But we had a really good, fun floor show. In fact, I wish today, with the way, I don't know, the way things have changed and the way music has gone, I almost wish some of these bands would go back and start doing floor shows again. But that's what propelled North Tower for years.
So now, how long were you with North Tower?
Well, which time?
Okay, I didn't know there's more than one time. Enlighten me. Learn. I learned so much talking to you.
So we played from. So we started North Tower, the band anyway. Like I said, Carolina Trace was probably 70, but when we started the whole North Tower thing around 78, and so I left. Decided that I won't go into all the details, but I decided I needed to get back into just regular job and do that kind of thing. And so I left in 81. Left right before Steve Hardy had actually brought the song Daydreamer, and we were in the process of starting to learn and get ready to record. And I left the band.
Now, was that the first one that North Tower recorded?
No, the first song we ever recorded a song called "Looking Forward to June" that I wrote along with Gary Dennis and Anthony Tarr. And we had done a couple other recordings, 1, 2, 3 Kind of Love, and some other things. But they were getting ready to record. Anyway, I left, and I was a guitar player when I left. And so, but I didn't stop playing music when I left, and I went back to just playing acoustic guitar and singing in restaurants, and I had ended up moving to Emerald Isle. And so I was playing at the different little restaurants and places down there. And there was a guy that was a manager at the Island, and they had a lounge that had bands. And he came to, there was another guy down there that did the same thing as I did. He played guitar and sang. And he came to us and said, can y'all start a band? I want y'all to be the house band. And so we were like, well, yeah, I guess we can do that. And so we put out the ads, found a piano player, found a drummer. We both play guitar. We could not find a bass player. Couldn't find one. So we decided, and it was time we had to, it was approaching, we're supposed to start playing. The guy said, I want y'all to play from, this part of the summer all the way through the summer. And it was we were just probably a month out, and we didn't have a bass player. So we showed up at practice. The deal was he was going to do 5 songs on bass. I was going to do 5 on bass, and we were going to switch. Well, we did the 5 songs that I had to learn on bass. They were okay. They weren't great, but they were okay.
They were good.
So then he picked up the bass and I played guitar. And after about halfway through the first song, I said, I guess I'm going to be playing bass.
Oh, didn't take long to make that decision.
No, because he I think he did it on purpose, quite frankly, because he was a better lead guitar player than I was. I was more of a rhythm guitar player. So I think his abilities to convert the bass should have been better than mine.
Now, all this was in Emerald Isle.
Yeah, Emerald Isle. So then you said how long was it in North Tower? So then I played that summer. I played maybe the summer before. Started playing at the Islander, and I played bass, and I played down there. We also played. I saw your interview with Harold Smith.
Yeah,
and so it's funny how all these things intermingle. I met Harold Smith and I met Stevie Levy at the same time when I was at Emerald Isle doing that. I went down to see them at Christie's, met those guys, the little house band we had. When Harold's band took a vacation one weekend, we went down there and played at that club.
Oh, okay.
And so, but anyway, I played there for a little while. And then
how the stories intermingle is fascinating.
Yeah.
With the number of podcasts I've been able to do and talk with people like you who have been, and they've been a large instrument to the beat music world. But like I said, hey, Gary Dennis, or how you know Harold, or
Yeah,
Steve Lee.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy how all the things. And but then I guess, what did I play? Maybe a couple years. So then I guess it was in like maybe, that would have been what, 82, 83, somewhere around 84, I guess it was. I get a little confused about exactly when I came back. But Gary Dennis and uh, Big John Smith, who was a bass player in North Town,
Yeah.
had decided that they were going to leave North Town. And John didn't sing a whole lot. He had a great bass voice, but
Yeah.
he didn't really sing all that much. Gary was their lead vocalist, but he didn't. He actually played a little bit of guitar, but not most of the time. He just held the mic and sang. But they were leaving, and the guys in North Tower knew that I had switched to bass, and so they came to me and they said, "You sure you don't want to come back and play music?" And I was like,
so there you go.
there you go. So, and hey, look, I think they did it because it gave them a pay raise, right? Because two guys left and they brought me in. So I essentially replaced
two guys,
if you will.
See, I told you were good.
Well, no, but like I said, it gave them a pay raise. It played until 1990.
Yeah.
And then really did decide. We don't have enough time to tell all the stories in between that, but
We
played a lot.
We're already 1 minute over, but
are we?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm enjoying this so much. I'm going to give it a few extra minutes here, because I'm loving what I'm getting here.
Well, we there's so many stories in the North Tower thing. Getting to play with as a backup band with Little Anthony and the Imperials.
Oh, wow.
Getting
I did not know that.
Yeah, we actually, and we were not his opening act. We actually played the music. Actually, that was when I still played guitar.
One of my favorite all-time favorites.
Yeah,
Little Anthony.
And did a lot of other things, but I'll try to get to the end of the career real quick here. So I left in 1990. Decided I better get a real job. Got into the corporate world. Didn't play in a band. Didn't do anything like that for 20 years.
Really?
I wrote a few songs. Chasing Dreams. Was not in North Tower.
Oh, that's the name of your studio, right?
Yeah, that's
Chasing Dream Studio, which I got the pleasure to get to see back in December.
Yeah, at the Christmas party.
Yeah,
but did play music. I spent a lot of time just doing stuff at home, and but I got married. I had a couple of kids, and then 20 years later, no longer married. Kids were grown.
Okay.
And I actually had the guys at that time in Blackwater Rhythm and Blues Band wanted me to come play bass for them. And I said, guys, I haven't touched the bass guitar in 20 years. And they were like, it's like riding a bicycle. And I said, no, it's not.
Okay.
And so they finally convinced me. They said, yeah, Doug. I said, all right, I'll tell you what. Give me like 5 songs. I'll try to learn them. And they practiced, I think, at that time on Monday nights in Clarkton. And I said, I'll show up, we'll see how it goes. And so I digged my bass guitar out, and the neck was so warped I couldn't even push the strings down. So I borrowed a bass guitar.
20 years of storage.
I really have. I had not played it. And so I borrowed a bass guitar, and I started practicing, and I'm like, maybe I can do this. And then I'm like, I'm not going to make any money. And I had a really good job at the time. And so I didn't need it for the money, but I got to thinking, and it was on a Sunday night. I called Larry Dean. When I left North Tower to protect them back in those days, I did a thing on a sequencer where I essentially recorded all my bass parts.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
is that a MIDI type or what?
It was a MIDI thing.
Yeah, okay.
And so I did that, and again, I think it's because they wanted to make money, Wayne. All of a sudden, I left, my bass parts were there, and they all got a raise, and so they didn't replace me.
They had you on tape. They're recording you.
Well,
There again, I told you you're good and you're important.
I wasn't recorded. But anyway, so I called Larry David up on this Sunday night, and I said, Larry, I'm getting ready to do something crazy. He said, what's that? I said, well, these guys have convinced me to come back and try to play some music. And I said, and they got a lot of people in that band.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make any money. So if I'm not going to make any money, I'd just rather play with my friends. How would you like a free bass player? He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I want to come play again. I know y'all aren't looking for anybody. Nobody wants to take a pay cut or anything. I said, I just play for free. He's like, well, I'm not turning that down.
Oh, Lord, I bet he hadn't had many offers like that.
So I came back and just
And about when was this?
2010.
Okay.
So 1990,
Yep.
20 years later.
20 years later, back.
20 years later, come back and played for about 4 years, and we're almost to the end of where I am today. And so we played for about 4 years, helped them do some recording. During that time, by the way, I had several songs that I wrote that other people did. I had a song called "So Hung Up on You" that Gary Brown recorded.
Okay.
I did a song that I wrote called "Thank Goodness You Cheated." That the Entertainers.
I remember that one. I didn't know you wrote that one.
Wrote that, and like I said, Chasing Dreams, just years before that. Did a song for Jerry Shooter, "I'm Gonna Love You, Darling." So I did some writing stuff. But anyway, I played for about 4 years, and then had a daughter that was a really good singer. And I really wanted North Tower to bring her in to try to give us a little bit of youth and expand it.
Yeah.
And they didn't really want to do that. And I understand that. I mean, it'd been a guy band for years and years, but I was getting older and I wanted to have a band with my daughter. So we told Larry we were gonna depart because I wanted to start another band with my daughter. But I said, but we won't leave until we make sure you're covered.
Is this where you started another band, perhaps?
A band called the Band Punch.
And your daughter sang?
And my daughter sang. But I will say this. The guy that I arranged and talked to that took my place in North Tower he's a pretty good bass player. His name was Gerald Davis.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah. Another icon.
Did not leave him at the end.
Oh, no, you didn't. Now, is your daughter still with?
Well, what's interesting about that, I started that so I could do that with her in 2014. And after probably about 5 years, she decided it was time to do the mommy thing. And she left. But I was having so much fun, and the band was so successful. In fact, Barry Herndon, who was our agent when we started that band, we had the discussion with Barry, and he said, "Yeah, I can book that if you put together that kind of night." And Barry would tell you that the Band Punch was the most successful launch of any band in his 40-some years being an agent.
Yeah.
We went from just starting to one of the most sought after wedding and event bands in a very short amount of time. My daughter left. We had a little trouble actually replacing her.
Now, who's the lady that replaced her?
Well, we had a couple of interims that didn't quite fill the bill. Big shoes to fill. She's a really good singer.
Awesome.
But they have a girl now. Her name is Raven Pantoja. I'll say her name.
Okay. Well, I knew Raven.
Yeah, Raven.
I didn't know that last name.
Yeah, Raven is outstanding. But in June of 2023, the band was just doing amazing. It was I'd say almost as good as the band had ever been. And but I just kind of got to thinking one day, and Susan and I, I'd gotten remarried. Susan and I've been married at that time for like 8 years, and I was gone every weekend playing.
Oh, it's been a pleasure meeting your wife the last couple of months. Very nice lady. You did well, brother.
Yeah, I did. But we were just missing out on so many things, and I just said, life is short. And so June of 2023, I decided it was time to stop playing music every weekend. And so now it's just every now and then. And although, and this will definitely be the end of it. Started, had some friends, Barry Herndon, he and I, we wanted to do some recording together. He had actually met the guys with the Mighty Saints of Soul. He had a place down there and got up with them and was singing every now and then. And Barry came to me and said, why don't we get Randy and Jim and Danny from the Mighty Saints of Soul and get them to come in with us.
I know where this story's going.
And we'll do a little, just a recording only band.
I got to know how you come up with this name.
Barry came up with that name. Actually,
Look Brothers.
Actually, and I'm going to say this. We all said, Barry, we're not doing that. Now, Barry wanted to call the band Hot Snot and Sugar Books.
Booger Brothers is better.
We said, Barry. Obviously, he was going to be Hot Snot.
Okay.
We're like, Barry, we're not doing it.
Oh,
but we said, we'll go with the Booger Brothers.
Okay.
And we have fun with the name. And so now my big thing, we're not, to my knowledge, we're not going to go out and play. I don't want to do that, but we're having a lot of fun just doing some recording. We got a couple songs that you've helped us with a little bit, getting promoted or whatever. And
well, the focus group, when I put it out with the focus group, they really fell in love with the In Her Own Way. And you and I have both sided. You think that describes your wife Susie, but I think that describes my girlfriend Dick.
Yeah.
One quick question.
All right.
Is there anything out there that your daughter has recorded that I can tell the fans out there to go listen to?
Oh, gosh, it's been a long time. She actually had her first song that got played on the radio on a lot of the beach music stations, and she wrote it at 14 years old. A song called Mr. Wrong.
Well, you're going to send me a link to that, and I'm going to put it out there for people to listen to.
Yeah.
Over the next few weeks.
And she, Taylor did a few other songs through the years. Yeah. Okay. And she did a song on one of Keith's albums back when they did that. What was the song or the album that Keith did with all the women? Oh, yeah. And then so they all sang individual songs.
Which one? The Back My Popper Man?
Yeah. So Taylor, when they had all the girls sing the different parts, she was one of the ones singing.
Well, guess what? That's the same track we used for Dustin and Sharon. So Taylor was on that backup on that very same track.
I thought that sounded like the same track.
It was. We did a few changes in it, but very same track.
So Taylor sang quite a bit of the lead stuff. She sang. I just know that she sang much of the background, maybe, but then she sang a song on that Christina Aguilera, Something's Got a Hold on Me.
Yeah.
That's Taylor.
Oh, wow.
If you go back and listen.
I will go back and listen.
That's Taylor.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, this has been absolutely awesome. I learned everything I thought I would and more, and that's what I would like to hear. I like to hear the stories of what made you come back and what made you do. Gosh,
and you're coming back to the Christmas party this year, right?
Yes, sir. If I have an invitation, I'll be there. Hey, if I don't have an invitation, I may come anyway.
we have a lot of fun.
Oh, it's absolutely awesome. Folks, thanks so much for staying with us a little long today. But let me tell you, it was worth every minute
but we're
of
not
it.
Going to do two.
Yeah, we are?
I said no.
Oh, yeah. We may. A couple months from now, we may come back again and get you back down here to the 843 studio.
I have stories.
It's going to work. It's too much fun not to do it again. I'm going to tell you. Folks, YouTube, go to Surfside Stories. Click on it, click subscribe, and you'll be able to pick up all our stuff. Go to surfsidestories.com, and you can hear it when you're driving on Spotify. You can also hear it now on Roku TV on Beats Music Live channel, and also you can hear it now on Explore NMB. So and we may have another outlet or two, but people are really picking up on. They're wanting to know about you folks. And
you're certainly doing a tremendous amount to get more people back involved and exposed, and I like your dedication to the live music, the musicians. None of this AI stuff.
Amen.
And go vote for the Booter Brothers songs, and go vote for the Mighty Saints of Soul. I tell you what, it's just been such a joy, Randy and Jim and Danny, and
Nice guys. Nice guys.
Nice guys. Love them.
Folks, we're out of here. See you next week.